Have you ever wondered what truly happens inside a Sigma female when she finally feels safe with a man instead of just tolerated by him? Do you question why her energy shifts from guarded and distant to soft, present, and deeply connected in a way most people never get to see? Are you curious about the quiet signs that her walls are lowering not from weakness, but from deep emotional safety and spiritual alignment? Welcome to time-tested advice, where ancient philosophy meets the modern world. I'm your host, Alfred. Let's get started. Ever seen a Sigma female softened for someone? It's rare, it's beautiful, and honestly, it only happens when she feels truly safe. If you've ever wondered what that shift looks like, stay close, because this isn't just connection, it's transformation. Look, a Sigma female doesn't open up easily. She's independent, private, and honestly. She trusts very slowly, but when she finally feels safe around a man, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, everything about her connection shifts, not because she needs him, but because safety gives her space to be more than the lone wolf everyone thinks she is. Today, we're breaking down what really happens when a Sigma female finally feels safe with a man. And trust me, most people never get to see these sides of her. The challenge is simple. Sigma females don't attach quickly. They read people deeply, they watch patterns, and they walk away the second something feels off. But when a man shows consistency, calm energy, and emotional steadiness, her guard starts to lower in ways even she doesn't expect. So here's what actually happens, step by step, when a Sigma female realizes she's safe. 1. She lets her guard down in a way that feels almost unfamiliar to her, because for so long those walls have been her shield, her comfort, and her quiet form of protection. When she starts to feel safe with someone, the edges of those walls soften without her forcing them, almost like her heart recognizes something her mind is still catching up to. She no longer feels the need to scan every word, movement, or tone the way she usually does, because the energy around her finally feels steady instead of unpredictable. For the first time in a long time, she can breathe around someone else without bracing for disappointment, misunderstanding, or emotional imbalance. She notices the shift in herself slowly at first, maybe in the way she relaxes her shoulders when he enters a room, or how she stops rehearsing her responses before speaking. She begins trusting the space, trusting the silence, trusting the moments between conversations, something she rarely does with anyone. The emotional armor she wears in every other part of her life becomes lighter, not because she's surrendering her strength, but because she doesn't feel threatened in his presence. She realizes she doesn't need to monitor every detail of her behavior, doesn't need to stay 3 steps ahead, doesn't need to constantly evaluate whether someone's intentions are genuine or temporary. She starts allowing natural moments to unfold without overthinking them, letting herself exist instead of constantly managing how she appears. She feels a calmness inside her that she almost forgot existed, a softness she usually buries to protect herself from disappointment. Feeling safe lets her reconnect with that softness because she knows it won't be used against her. Even the way she breathes changes. It becomes deeper, slower, more grounded because she's no longer living in a state of quiet vigilance. She starts sharing pieces of her personality she normally keeps hidden. Not the polished version the world sees, but the real version. The messy, thoughtful, affectionate parts she only reveals when she feels completely secure. She lets him see her tired moments, her silly moments, her quiet moods, her unfiltered thoughts, because she trusts he won't twist them or judge them. She doesn't overanalyze the way he reacts because his consistency has already taught her she doesn't need to. Her guard dropping isn't dramatic. It's subtle, steady, and honest. A slow unfolding of trust built on emotional safety. And that shift is powerful because once a woman like her feels safe, she becomes her truest self. Not the self shaped by caution, but the self shaped by freedom, comfort, and connection. Her guard drops not because she is weak, but because she finally feels protected enough to be real. In that rare space of emotional ease, she begins to rediscover forgotten layers of herself, allowing old dreams to resurface, letting quiet hopes breathe again, trusting that she no longer has to armor every part of her heart, and realizing with growing certainty that safety doesn't limit her independence, but instead deepens it in ways she never expected in the gentlest way possible today. To a Sigma female shows him her soft side in a way almost no one else ever gets to see, because softness is something she protects with her entire soul. She doesn't hand it out casually, and she definitely doesn't reveal it to someone who hasn't proven consistency. When she finally feels safe with a man, though, something inside her relaxes enough for that softer version of herself to step forward. It's not a performance, not a mask, not an attempt to please him. It's simply her allowing him access to a part of her she's kept hidden from the world for years. Her softness comes out in the way she speaks to him, the way she smiles at things she would normally brush off, the way her voice warms when she talks about something that matters to her. It appears in the gentle teasing, the easy laughter, the quiet moments where she leans into him instead of away. She lets him see her tenderness, her warmth, her emotional depth, the side of her that feels deeply but rarely shows it. And this shift doesn't happen suddenly. It's a slow unfolding, an intentional opening built on trust. She lets him see the parts of her that feel small, scared, or uncertain, not because she wants reassurance, but because she knows he won't misuse her vulnerability. She begins to share memories she's kept private, stories she never told anyone, pieces of her past that shaped her strength. She doesn't filter her emotions the same way she does with others. If something moves her, she shows it. If something makes her laugh, she doesn't hide it. If something touches her heart, she lets the feeling land without shutting down. Her softness isn't weakness. It's one of her purest forms of connection. It's the part she only reveals when she trusts someone completely. And because her soft side is so rare, the man who receives it becomes someone she treasures quietly, deeply, intentionally. She treats him with a tenderness that comes from emotional safety, not obligation. Her guard lowers enough for her affection to flow naturally without hesitation or fear of being misunderstood. She lets him see the gentle way she cares, the thoughtful things she notices, the quiet ways she loves. She becomes more expressive, more open, more emotionally generous because she knows he values her heart rather than taking advantage of it. She doesn't feel embarrassed about showing kindness. She doesn't feel exposed when she shows emotion. She doesn't feel foolish for letting her guard down. The softness she reveals becomes one of the strongest signs that she feels protected, appreciated, and understood. And when a Sigma female shows her soft side, she isn't losing her independence. She's expanding her emotional world. She's letting someone in without losing herself. She's choosing connection instead of survival mode, and the man she shares that softness with becomes part of a side of. She guards fiercely, because once she feels safe enough to let him see it, he becomes one of the rare few she trusts with her heart in a way she never gives twice. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, say hello, and consider subscribing to our channel. And if you'd like to support our channel further, become a member by clicking the Join button below. Okay, let's move on. 3. She starts sharing her thoughts freely, and for a Sigma female, that shift is huge, because her mind is usually a private place she doesn't let anyone wander into. She lives with a whole world inside her ideas, questions, opinions, quiet observations, and most of the time she keeps them to herself, because she's used to people misunderstanding her depth or twisting her honesty. But when she finally feels safe with a man, the filter she normally keeps so tight begins to loosen. She no longer feels the need to rehearse her thoughts before saying them. She doesn't overthink how her words might land, or whether she'll be judged for being too blunt, too honest, or too intense. Instead, her words start to flow naturally in real time, without hesitation. She shares her perspectives with ease, like she already knows he can hold space for her without shrinking or getting defensive. She lets him into her mental landscape, allowing him to see how she processes life, how she analyzes situations, how she connects dots that other people miss. She starts having deeper conversations with him, not just small talk or surface-level ideas, but real discussions about life, values, dreams, fears, and the kind of meaning she chases in everything she does. She trusts him enough to let her thoughts be messy sometimes, unpolished or half-formed, and that's rare for her. She's used to being the one who listens, the one who thinks before she speaks, the one who holds space for others while keeping her own thoughts tucked away. But with him, she doesn't feel like she needs to carry the whole emotional weight of the conversation. She doesn't feel like she needs to play the strong one every second. She doesn't feel like her honesty will push him away. Instead, she talks to him the way she talks to herself, openly, softly, directly. She shares her ideas without trying to sound perfect. She shares her worries without waiting for the right moment. She even shares things she's never said out loud before, simply because his presence feels steady enough to hold it with him. Her voice feels safe, and because her thoughts feel safe, her connection deepens. She laughs more easily, debates more freely, expresses more confidently because she knows he isn't threatened by her intelligence or overwhelmed by her depth. She feels heard, not just listened to, but understood. He takes her thoughts seriously, and that alone builds a bond she doesn't create easily. She starts sharing the things she usually writes in her journal, the things she normally keeps guarded, the things she doesn't trust the world with, and he becomes the one person she lets into that sacred space by opening her mind to him. She's showing a level of trust that goes far beyond words. It means she feels emotionally safe, mentally respected, and deeply seen. And when a Sigma female reaches that level of openness, it's not just communication. It's connection rooted in authenticity she doesn't offer to anyone else. 4. A Sigma female feels safe being vulnerable in a way she rarely allows herself to be, because vulnerability is one of the most protected parts of her entire identity. She doesn't open up easily, and she certainly doesn't hand her emotions to anyone who hasn't shown consistency, patience, and emotional steadiness. But when she finally feels safe with a man, something inside her shifts quietly, almost gently, like her heart finally realizes it no longer needs to operate in survival mode. She begins to share the deeper layers of herself, the ones she usually hides behind her independence and self-sufficiency. She talks about the fears she never admits out loud, the memories she keeps tucked away, the dreams she's scared to say because they're too precious to risk being dismissed. She allows him to see the vulnerable parts of her that are still healing, the parts shaped by old heartbreaks, past disappointments, and moments of loneliness she never talks about. She doesn't do this all at once. Vulnerability for a Sigma female unfolds slowly, piece by piece, like petals opening only when the environment feels warm enough. She tests the emotional space first, watching how he responds to smaller truths, watching how he listens, watching how he holds her words, and when he proves he doesn't run, doesn't judge, doesn't misuse her honesty, she lets him in further. She becomes more open about what she needs emotionally, something she usually keeps guarded because she's used to being the one who supports others. She lets him see when she's tired, overwhelmed, or unsure, trusting that he won't label her as too much or too sensitive. She lets him see her tears without feeling embarrassed. She lets him hear her fears without feeling weak. She lets him comfort her without feeling like she's giving up her independence. Vulnerability becomes something she chooses, not something she fights. And because she chose it, it becomes even more meaningful. She lets him into the moments she usually handles alone, the quiet nights when her thoughts feel heavy, the days she feels disconnected from herself, the times she doubts her own strength. Instead of hiding those moments, she shares them with him because she trusts he can hold the emotional weight with her instead of placing it all on her. She no longer feels the need to present herself as the woman who has everything under control every second. She allows her humanity to exist beside her strength. She becomes softer in her honesty, clearer in her communication, and braver in her emotional truth. The vulnerability she offers is deep, thoughtful, and incredibly rare. And the man who receives it isn't just hearing her words. He is being allowed into a part of her world no one else gets to touch. When a Sigma female feels safe enough to be vulnerable, it means she sees him as someone who won't break her trust, someone who won't weaponize her transparency, and someone who won't disappear when things get real. It means she's choosing connection instead of caution, and that choice is one of the most intimate gifts she can give anyone. 5. She lets him support her in a way that feels completely new to a Sigma female. Because she spent most of her life depending on herself, trusting herself, and carrying everything alone out of necessity, not pride. Allowing someone to step in and help isn't something she does casually. It's something she does only when she feels emotionally safe, respected, and understood. At first it feels strange to her, almost unfamiliar, because she's so used to being the strong one, the grounded one, the one who holds everything together even when she's exhausted. But when she finally feels safe with a man, she begins to loosen her grip on that constant responsibility. She lets him take some of the weight off her shoulders, not because she can't handle it, but because she trusts he won't drop it. She starts letting him do small things for her, checking in on her, helping with tasks, being present when she's overwhelmed, offering support without her having to ask. She notices that she doesn't feel guilty about accepting his help, and that alone shows how safe she feels. She allows herself to lean on him emotionally, something she rarely does with anyone. She talks to him when she's tired instead of pretending everything is fine. She lets him comfort her when she feels low instead of isolating herself. She listens to his guidance without feeling controlled or criticized because she senses his intentions are genuine. She stops apologizing for needing support, stops pretending she's invincible, stops acting like she has to carry everything alone. She begins trusting him with her stress, her challenges, her worries, the things she usually internalizes until they're too heavy to hold. She lets him be the one who steadies her sometimes, the one who shows up with solutions, the one who gives her reassurance when life becomes overwhelming, and instead of feeling weak for accepting support, she feels stronger because emotional safety gives her the space to rest without fear. She no longer sees vulnerability as a burden. She sees it as shared energy, shared trust, shared connection. She realizes that letting someone support her doesn't make her less independent. It makes the relationship more balanced. Her trust grows every time he shows up, every time he listens without judging, every time he steps in without trying to take over. The support he gives her becomes something she values deeply because it's steady, respectful, and offered with real intention. And as she accepts more support, she starts to feel more connected, more understood, and more grounded within the relationship. She sees that he isn't helping her for praise or validation. He's helping because he genuinely cares. And that kind of support is rare enough for her to recognize its value instantly. When a Sigma female finally lets a man support her, it means she trusts him with her inner world, her emotional needs, and the pieces of herself she usually guards fiercely. It means she believes he is someone who will stand beside her, not behind her, and that belief becomes one of the strongest foundations of their connection. All right, next 16. A Sigma female becomes more playful when she finally feels safe with a man, and this shift is one of the clearest signs that her guard has truly come down. Most people only ever see her composed, serious, or quietly confident side, because she doesn't waste energy on people who haven't earned access to her real personality. But safety changes everything. When she feels emotionally protected, something inside her loosens. Her laughter comes easier. Her sense of humor sharpens, and her natural goofiness begins to show in moments where she feels completely relaxed. She starts teasing him in ways she never does with anyone else, using that dry, witty, sometimes mischievous tone she usually keeps hidden. She jokes with him about little things, nudges him, challenges him playfully, and surprises him with a warmth that feels effortless. Her eyes soften. Her smile becomes more frequent, and her energy becomes lighter, as if she's giving herself permission to just enjoy the moment without analyzing it. People often mistake Sigma females for being overly serious or distant, but the truth is, she just needs to feel safe to unlock this softer, more playful layer. When she trusts a man, her inner child feels comfortable coming out. She lets herself be silly without feeling embarrassed, because she knows he won't use her softness against her. She laughs freely around him, not the polite laugh she gives strangers, but the real laugh, the one that takes over her entire face, the one she usually keeps locked away. She becomes more spontaneous, more open to fun, more willing to lean into light-hearted moments instead of staying guarded. And this shift isn't random. Playfulness is her way of showing comfort, trust, and emotional closeness. It means she doesn't feel like she has to constantly monitor her behavior or maintain her strong one persona. She feels safe enough to show the most relaxed, unfiltered version of herself, the version that isn't weighed down by expectations or responsibilities. She might send him random jokes, tease him at the perfect moments, or gently roast him when he least expects it, all because she feels grounded in their connection. She becomes more affectionate in a playful way too. Soft touches, inside jokes, little gestures that show she's genuinely comfortable being emotionally close. And the more she feels safe, the more this side of her blossoms. Her playfulness becomes a language of trust, a way of saying, I feel good with you. I feel free with you. I can be myself with you. This version of her is rare, precious, and deeply meaningful. Only a man who provides emotional safety gets to see it, because she doesn't hand that part of herself to anyone who hasn't earned it through consistency and honesty. When a Sigma female becomes playful, it means she finally feels like she can exist without armor, without caution, without holding back her true personality. It means she's not just safe, she's happy, open and fully present in the connection, and that kind of playfulness is one of the strongest signs that she's let someone into her world in a way she doesn't allow often. 7. She trusts his leadership, and for a Sigma female, that is one of the biggest shifts she can experience in a relationship. She's used to leading her own life, making her own decisions, and relying on her own judgment because it's safer that way. She doesn't hand over control. She doesn't follow blindly, and she definitely doesn't rely on someone who hasn't shown consistency or strength. But when she finally feels safe with a man, something inside her relaxes enough to allow shared leadership. She doesn't surrender her independence. She expands it. She begins trusting his guidance, his judgment, and his ability to make steady decisions, not because she can't lead, but because she sees that he leads with intention, clarity, and calm energy. She starts to let him take the lead in certain moments, not out of submission, but out of trust. If he plans something for them, she doesn't question every detail. If he makes a choice that affects them both, she listens instead of automatically pushing back. She values his perspective, not because she needs direction, but because she respects the way he thinks. She trusts that his choices come from care, not ego. She appreciates that he moves with purpose, not incur. She lets him take initiative, something she rarely allows, because she knows he won't misuse that role or try to dominate her. She sees that he doesn't lead to control. He leads to support. When he steps up, she feels steadier, not smaller. She feels protected, not restricted. She feels understood, not managed. He becomes someone she can rely on, not someone she has to parent or fix. And that alone makes her admire him in a deeper way. She lets him guide in areas where he's strong, and he lets her lead where she shines, creating a balance that feels natural instead of forced. And the more he shows emotional maturity, the more she trusts his leadership. She sees how he reacts under pressure, how he handles conflict, how he stays grounded even when things get messy. She watches how he listens to her, how he respects her boundaries, how he never tries to compete with her strength. And she trusts him because he proves himself through action, not talk. She stops double-checking everything he says. She stops assuming he'll disappoint her. She stops feeling like she has to do everything alone. Instead, she steps into a space where she can rest sometimes because she knows he'll hold things steady when she does. Trusting his leadership doesn't make her less independent. It makes their connection more solid, more equal, more supportive. It becomes a partnership instead of a power struggle. And for a Sigma female, trusting a man's leadership is not a small shift. It's a sign of deep emotional safety. It means she sees him as capable, reliable, and grounded. It means she believes he can walk beside her without trying to overshadow her. It means she feels safe enough to let someone stand with her, not behind her and not in front of her, but right next to her in a way that feels strong, balanced, and real. 8. A Sigma female lets him into her world slowly, intentionally, and only when she feels truly safe, because her inner world is not something she shares lightly. It's a private space built from her routines, her thoughts, her silence, her passions, and the hidden corners of her personality that very few people ever get to see. Most people only know the version of her that moves independently handles everything on her own, and keeps her distance when the energy feels off. But once she feels emotionally secure with a man, she starts opening that private world in ways that feel subtle at first, but incredibly meaningful. She lets him see the spaces where she thinks, creates, and recharges. She shows him the routines she usually keeps to herself, her morning rituals, the way she organizes her life, the quiet habits she uses to stay grounded. She lets him into her silence, the soft, peaceful moments where she says nothing but feels everything, and that alone is a rare gift, because silence is where a Sigma female keeps her calm, her clarity, and her deepest truths. She lets him into her thoughts more freely, sharing the ideas she normally keeps inside. The questions she turns over in her mind, the details she observes that others overlook. She trusts that he won't judge her depth or misunderstand her intensity. She lets him into her passions, the things that make her light up inside, the projects she cares about, the interests she usually protects from outside opinions. She lets him see her excitement, her creativity, her drive, allowing him to witness the parts of her that keep her going. She lets him into her emotional world too, not just the vulnerable pieces, but the parts that make her feel most alive. She shares her joys, her quiet comforts, her unexpected softness. The pieces of herself that feel too real to reveal to someone unreliable. She lets him in physically and energetically, welcoming him into her space, dropping her guard enough to let him exist in the same room without feeling drained or tense. She lets him see her at rest, her natural self, her unfiltered presence, and the deeper he proves his consistency, the more she expands that access. She introduces him to the people she actually cares about, not acquaintances, but the handful of humans she trusts. She lets him be part of her plans, part of her thoughts, part of her day in ways she never allows with anyone else. She lets him take up space in her life without resentment or fear, because his presence feels steady, grounding, and emotionally safe. She lets him into the quiet parts of her that don't need an audience, the tender parts that only exist behind closed doors. And the more she lets him in, the more he realizes how rare this access truly is. A Sigma female doesn't share her world to impress someone. She shares it because she finally feels seen, valued, and understood. When she lets a man into her world, it means she's not just accepting him. She's choosing him, trusting him, and allowing him into a side of her life almost no one ever gets to witness up close. Promise you, it gets even better. Let's finish strong. 9. She loves. Deeply, fully, and without fear, once she feels safe with a man, and for a Sigma female, that kind of love is powerful because it's rare. She doesn't hand her heart out casually or dive into emotional closeness without thought. She's cautious, observant, and self-protective by nature. But when she finally realizes she's safe emotionally, mentally, and energetically, her love becomes one of the most grounding experiences a man can ever receive. She doesn't love halfway. She doesn't love with conditions. She doesn't love from a place of insecurity or expectation. She loves with intention, with honesty, with presence. She shows up fully because she knows the connection can hold her weight. Her love becomes steady instead of guarded, warm instead of distant, open instead of cautious. She begins expressing affection more freely, not in grand gestures, but in deep, consistent ways that mean everything. She supports him, not out of obligation, but out of genuine connection. She listens to him with her full attention. She encourages him in quiet, powerful ways. She becomes someone he can rely on because her love is rooted in sincerity, not performance. She lets herself care without holding back, trusting that her emotions won't be dismissed or misunderstood. Her loyalty becomes unwavering, not because she's afraid to lose him, but because she finally feels secure enough to build something meaningful, and her presence becomes a source of calm, safety, and grounding energy. A stigma female's love is deep because she pays attention. She remembers small details. She notices shifts in his mood. She adapts to what he needs without losing herself in the process. She becomes more affectionate physically, emotionally, mentally, sharing her world with him in a balanced, intentional way. She loves him in ways he's never experienced because her love is not based on fear, attachment, or need. It's based on choice. Every day she chooses him with clarity, with strength, and with trust. She becomes more expressive, more open, more emotionally generous because she feels protected enough to let her heart expand instead of shrink. And what makes her love so rare is that it comes with depth most people never get to witness. She doesn't cling. She doesn't demand. She doesn't chase. She loves with freedom, with confidence, with emotional honesty. Her love elevates the connection instead of complicating it. She supports his growth, not from a place of control, but from a place of belief. She shows up as a partner, not a burden. She creates a peaceful, emotional environment that helps him feel seen, not judged. And as she loves him deeply, she also loves herself fully, never abandoning her identity for the relationship, but blending her life with his in a way that feels balanced and grounded. When a Sigma female finally feels safe, her love becomes something transformative, steady, passionate, loyal, and incredibly real. It's the kind of love that grows roots, strengthens both people, and creates a connection built to last, not because it's perfect, but because it's honest in every way. 10. She begins to reveal her long-term vision and quietly weaves him into it. For a Sigma female, the future is something she usually guards just as fiercely as her heart. She plans in silence, dreams in private, and rarely shares her long-term goals with anyone who might not understand them. But when she truly feels safe with a man, she starts talking about the years ahead with more openness. She mentions the kind of life she wants to build, the places she wants to go, the values she wants to live by, and without forcing it, he begins to appear in those visions. She talks about future projects, lifestyle choices, and deeper commitments in a way that includes him, not as a dependency, but as a trusted partner. She asks for his thoughts on big decisions, not because she can't decide alone, but because she respects his perspective enough to let it shape her path. She lets him see the blueprints of her life, the quiet structure behind her independence, and that is one of the clearest signs that she believes his presence will support her purpose rather than derail it. 11. She allows her healing to be witnessed instead of hidden. A Sigma female is used to processing her pain alone, rebuilding herself in silence, and coming back to the world only when she has stitched her edges back together. When she feels deeply safe with a man, she lets him see her while she is still in the middle of that healing. She shares the habits that keep her grounded, the spiritual practices or reflections that help her release old wounds, the quiet days when she needs more stillness than conversation. She lets him stand beside her in those inner battles without feeling ashamed or broken. She no longer feels the need to present a perfectly composed version of herself. Instead, she invites him into the honest, ongoing work of becoming, trusting that he won't rush her process or resent her growth. In that shared space, Healing becomes less about survival and more about transformation, and he becomes not her savior, but her steady witness as she rises into an even stronger version of herself. Every Sigma female has that one moment. The moment she realizes she's no longer bracing for impact, no longer scanning for red flags, no longer waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's the moment she thinks, wow, he sees me, and he doesn't run. He shows up. That's when she knows she's safe, and once she reaches that moment, everything changes. Something inside her settles like a quiet weight lifting off her chest. She stops expecting mess, stops anticipating pain, stops preparing for disappointment. For the first time in a long while, she lets the present be the present instead of a warning sign. She catches herself relaxing into his presence, feeling a sense of ease she didn't know she still could feel. She notices she's not editing her thoughts, not shrinking her needs, not second-guessing her emotions. It's a moment of recognition, a moment of truth, where she finally understands that emotional safety isn't a fairy tale. It's a feeling created by consistency, respect, and presence. She realizes the connection isn't built on fear, guessing, or games, but on honesty, comfort, and trust. And once she feels that, she knows she's not imagining the shift. It's real, and it changes the way she shows up. She lets herself love without holding a shield, lets herself care without bracing for loss, lets herself be seen without fear. So here's what we covered: the softening, the openness, the trust, the vulnerability, the depth she finally lets someone see. These 9 shifts are powerful, sacred, and rare, and they only happen when a man creates the emotional safety she's been craving quietly for years. If any part of this felt familiar, share your experience in the comments. Your story might help another Sigma female understand herself a little better. And if you want more, check out the next video. We're talking about the signs a man is genuinely ready for a woman like you. Seriously, don't miss it. You deserve a love that feels safe, steady, and peaceful. I want you to remember something important as you listen to this. A Sigma female never asks for too much. She only asks for what is real, what is consistent, and what is emotionally honest. And when those things finally arrive, she blooms in ways even she didn't expect. Safety isn't boring to her, it's liberating. It gives her the space to love wildly, speak openly, and trust deeply without carrying the weight of constant self-protection. So if you're listening to this and thinking this is exactly me, just know you're not alone. There are thousands of women with your heart, your strength, and your quiet fierceness, learning what safety feels like for the first time. And if you've met someone who creates that for you, don't ignore it. Don't downplay it. Let yourself receive it, because emotional safety is the foundation of every healthy connection a Sigma female will ever build. Choose the love that feels gentle, the love that feels clear, the love that feels steady, because the right man will never make you question your worth, your voice, or your heart. He will meet. This whole journey of safety, softness, and deep connection is a reminder that a Sigma female was never meant to live permanently guarded, but to rest in a love that honors her strength, her depth, and her truth. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm your host, Alfred, and I read every comment.